Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of Jedi Alliance. We're in the smaller, darker, more intimate studio for our Rogue One discussion. We're going to be talking about the reshoots. We're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff relating to Star Wars, because that's what we are. We're a Star Wars show. We got the Netflix deal. We got Celebration. So much stuff. Duel of the Fates. All this and more. Join us, won't you?
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Jedi Alliance.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Jedi Alliance, a celebration of the greatest saga ever told. I am one of your hosts, the internet's Mark Donica, and I am joined by somebody who needs no reshoots because he is perfect as he is. I don't care what you say, internet, he's fine, he's perfect. There's no danger, John Rocha.
Stop calling me fat, internet. Jesus, I'm sick of it. Yeah, hey, what's up, everybody? I'm John Rocha, at The Rocha Says. So great to see you guys. So great to come back and talk Star Wars this week. So much to talk about. Reshoots, all this jazz with Celebration, Filoni, and a little bit of a Q&A with Timothy Zahn.
Yes.
So much to get to, Mark. I'm looking forward to it.
Tim Zahn. He had a bit of a weekend, and we're going to talk about that. We were away for the Memorial Day holiday, so thank you for bearing with us. There's another one coming up for 4th of July, because that's on a Monday. We'll see what we do there, but I'm pretty sure the studio is going to be closed. More on that as we get there. It's June now, so why don't we talk about news from the HoloNet?
Yes.
Beautiful. Let those Ewoks march. So we're going to start with Dave Filoni. He is the director of Rebels. He's talking about a lot of stuff that he might be bringing to Celebration. He tweeted this image of a worn book and mentioned that there's always truth to some legends.
Yes.
And some folks have gone so far as to look at the exact way that it's leafed and been like, that's a Zahn book. And to be honest, there are a lot of Star Wars books.
Yeah.
So aside from we could pull a lot. There are the rumors that he's going to be bringing Thrawn into the Rebels universe, but aside from Thrawn, what stuff would you want to see incorporated in Rebels Season 3?
Well, I think Mara Jade would be awesome to figure out how to get her in there, how to start that process. Because once you introduce, obviously, if you introduce it in Rebels, you can be introduced in the canon. If you introduce in the canon, you can appear in the movies. So all that, I would love to see more of that. I'd love to see some exploration of the Outer Rim, exploration of other planets that they've got going on there. They've done a really good job over the last 2 years of doing that with the show.
Yeah.
New creatures, new habitats, new ships, new planet, revisiting old ships, always nice to see that. So for me, that's more of that kind of stuff, like explore a little more of the planets that don't talk about. Can we go to Kashyyyk? I mean, is that possible? Can we just try that stuff? Not necessarily Legends, obviously, but I would like to see something where we have something more, a little more of expansion in the universe. What about you?
This is kind of getting way ahead of us to the Mind Probe section. But Jackson. From the comics.
Yeah.
It made me realize he looks like Bucky O'Hare, which was another cartoon that I watched as a kid.
Yeah.
He was a little before my time, but when I looked into it, I saw that they put his corpse in Clone Wars.
Fascinating, right?
Yeah. So let's have that as like a nod or a previous iteration. Maybe not Jackson specifically, but another member of the race from that planet.
Sure.
Just so we can get more diversified smugglers and new smugglers introduced back into canon. Yeah. I think he would fit well, and I would be interested to see what that art style would do with him.
Well, if you open Thrawn, you're opening a whole nother section of the universe to explore, legends-wise, and so there's all this that can go into it, all these characters that are connected indirectly and directly with Thrawn, and that's what I would like to see explored. If you're gonna, don't just introduce him as a character and then have him be. If you're gonna make him the main villain, then let's explore all of it. Let's start, and I'm sure they have to get all approval from Disney and Lucasfilm and all that jazz, but it would be nice to see a little more of the fleshing out. I think we're ready for it as an audience. I think we're excited to see more and get deeper into that universe, because Thrawn has been something that's been the banner, like banging the drum for a long time to see him. So to see him done well would be awesome.
And you mentioned Kashyyyk. And just because we've talked about it a couple times on the show,
okay.
If we could see Chewie's family,
yes,
from the Christmas special.
Right.
Maybe not to directly,
Oh.
maybe not to directly allude to it, but to see that he has a family.
You had me, and then you lost me.
That's just something that I thought would be funny. Is if they. As a way of going, as a tease of something Life Day related to show Chewie's family in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not that he is a kid,
right?
Maybe not a grandpappy or whoever.
Yeah.
But if you show a family and Han visiting with the family, then it's like, oh, all right. I guess we don't need the Christmas special.
Right.
Anything Legends can be canon, and that is probably the biggest legend. Tall Tale. Not even a legend, it's a tall tale.
No, yeah.
And there's also rumors that Filoni is going to be bringing the first 2 episodes of season 3 to a celebration.
Isn't this what they but this is what they've been doing now for the last few years. I feel like the first 2 seasons they did this. Where they screened the first 2 episodes. I know they did for the
second one.
And then they waited a bit. Yeah, the first one, I think they screened the first 2 episodes at once. Then there was like 2 or 3 weeks where you waited, then it started. But this last one was like months. And if they do it now, it's going to be even longer in between. So that's what I was worried about. That they were going to screen them there and then screen them again on the network and then have us wait 3 more months or something for the season to start. I'm only worried in the sense that like I'm so excited for it to come back that I don't want to be waiting 3 months, right? I'll do it because I have to do it and I'm a consumer and I'll do it. But I don't. But I'd rather have it start and then go right into it.
Sure. No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Our next story, a big news out of Disney and Netflix. They've announced that Netflix, starting in 2016, is going to be getting the movies that came out this year and beyond as the exclusive digital platform for a very, very long time, just before or just as it gets released on home video. So what this means is we're not getting Force Awakens on Netflix. That's going to take a little bit longer. But that means Rogue One is going to come out just months after it's in theaters.
Yeah.
However long it lasts, because it'll probably last a pretty dang long time.
Right.
But it'll come right out on Netflix. Now, does this dash our hopes of a Star Wars network?
Yeah, I think a little bit. Or we can, as we do here in Los Angeles, we can put the spin on it, which is that this is a way of them dipping their toe in the water of seeing how people respond to this on a streaming system, a streaming network. If they like it a lot, if the ratings are high, if people are consuming it at massive amounts of volume, then the idea is more. And if you want to have more, it's a supply and demand industry. If you want demand, if the demand is high, they will supply it. So that's what I would say. It sucks that we won't get the original trilogy and the prequels. Even for those people who like the prequels, we won't get them before this deal. Like when this deal happens, we won't get them for a little while. There's be some because of other contractual obligations that Disney has set up. So you have to wait a little bit. But I think it's a good opening to start the process of possibly creating a Netflix series. A Legends-based Netflix series, which would be nice. So you get the response that people have to the Star Wars and see how they patronize it, and the Disney movies. Yeah,
and then in that regard, if Netflix does end up doing a whole series, then they get the streaming rights to that. And if there's ever a Star Wars network, that's one thing that the network won't have.
Yeah.
I also wonder how it works with television. Like, once the Rebels season ends, will it be like
good question.
2 to 3 weeks and then we get the whole season on Netflix?
Right, yeah.
Or since part of season 2 was in 2016, do we get part of season 2 on Netflix, or wait for everything to sort of end out? It's a great time if you're a Disney fan, because that means we get all the Marvel movies. So Captain America, what's the other ones coming? Doctor Strange, Zootopia, which just crossed the $1 billion mark worldwide.
Yeah.
Beat Batman versus Superman. Those are different shows. I'm just excited to talk about that. But so yes, if for some reason you don't have Netflix, the end of the season will be a good time to sign up.
It's $10. You can do it for $10.
That just means you don't go to Starbucks twice a week.
I mean, right? Or you don't grab that McDonald's lunch that's about $8 or $9 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have sponsors, right? Like I don't want to get
no.
I'm just saying, yeah. So I'm just saying, like you can
don't grab that McDonald's one. Grab that Burger King one instead.
So it's $10, and the amount of entertainment you get. I've significantly reduced my cable because there's so much on Netflix.
Don't even have it.
No, I trained myself one week to just go home and watch only Netflix stuff, and I had more than enough to entertain me for an entire week without having to even turn on the television to watch cable or turn on the cable to watch cable. There's so much content there, and if you have Hulu for another $100, so it's less than that a month, less than $10 a month if you pay it all at once
for a year
for Amazon Prime and then Hulu as well. Like, you could be set up for $30, and it's way less than what you're paying for the cable stuff. So
cut the cord, go digital, hit yourself up with some Netflix. We're going from here to for our prop friends out there. Star Wars has released official Force Awakens merchandise and prop replicas. We got weapons, we got helmets, absolutely beautiful looking stuff. We've got the melted Darth Vader helmet. We've got Finn's Stormtrooper helmet with the blood on it. Kylo Ren, Poe Dameron's Black Team X-Wing helmet. Steve, if you can make the images just a little bigger on our screen so that we can see them too. We've got Rey's staff. We've got lightsabers, the crossbow. So much good stuff. But they're in the thousands. Just breaking over 4 digits. Which of those ones would you want to get?
I have to say 2 answers. A, the Poe Dameron helmet. Definitely, for a number of reasons. He's a Latino actor, and I really like that. B, the look of it is pretty awesome.
It's really slick.
And the other one would be the Darth Vader melted helmet, just to have that.
Hamlet helmet.
Yes, I could think you could do, Last Poor Darth, or Last Poor Anakin. It would be great to have that. Those are my first 2 choices. If I had like $3,000 burning a hole in my pocket. If I had that.
I don't know what to do with all of this money. So yeah, the bowcaster looks really good.
Oh wow, great! Thank you.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I would have to say one Rey's staff.
Yes.
Just it's so cool.
It really is.
And probably the FN 2187 Stormtrooper.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, just because also you could put it like a pike. You put the helmet on the staff and be like, "Beware all who enter here."
Yeah.
All Empire First Order that enter here.
Yes.
Just have people walk in and like Home Alone, like it come up right up to their face and knock them like a paint can. Then you'd be like, "I'm never coming over again." But absolutely amazing quality on those props.
Right.
What stuff from the past movies would you want to see?
I think Yoda's cane from the prequels would be nice. I just have
with a hidden lightsaber compartment.
Yes, that kind of thing. I think what else? I think Dooku's cape would be awesome. Dooku's cape is pretty. I've always loved
pretty
Dooku's
regal
cape. Right, so powerful in that look. And I think Skywalker's. What would you say? I liked a lot of the costumes that were in the prequels. I think they did a really nice job with the costumes and the look. I liked Anakin's look. I would not want Anakin's rat tail. But
I was going to say, how about that rat tail? Huh?
Those kinds of things would be great.
Yeah, I think personally, I mean, Luke's second lightsaber, the one that he makes himself, inherits, has always been a favorite model of mine. So I would get something like that.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, they sell the costumes at Disney, and seeing the Han Solo one and it being only like $1,000, being that's not bad.
Yeah,
maybe get a little bit of that smuggler action going on.
Right.
But yeah, if you want to get your hands on some of these, they're sold officially through StarWars.com. And if you want to send one our way, we wouldn't be mad at it.
I think this is how you test your relationship, right? This is how you test your relationship.
Is it how?
You buy a few of these, you purposely leave the receipt out, and then you see the reaction of your significant other, and then at that point you understand if you're in this for the long haul or not in this for the long haul.
Well, I mean, you're in debt for the long haul,
well,
depending on how much you spend. God, I don't.
They're really well done, man. I mean, and they come with the pedestal, and it looks fantastic.
And the burnt Vader helmet, the melted Vader helmet, and the Stormtrooper helmet are both, I think, limited to 500 pieces.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, those are the only 2 that are limited to 500 pieces.
Okay.
I like the Kylo Ren hilt as well, but yeah.
And then Chewbacca's one, right? Chewbacca's
Dude, the bowcaster.
The bowcaster, yeah. That's a badass thing. All right.
Okay, moving on from stuff that we want that we are adding to our Amazon wish list that you can go.
That's right.
Amazon.com/Jedi Alliance. Just kidding.
We're going to create that.
And then and we put these on it. Our last story, well, nope, that's not true. Our second to last story that we're going to be talking about is the Lawrence Kasdan was talking about when the Han Solo movie is going to start shooting, and he's talking about January 2017.
Yeah.
So we're going to be past Rogue One.
Just barely.
Just barely.
Yeah.
What I mean, release and it'll be out for about a month at that point when it comes out. So, one, does that take the idea of an appearance from young Han Solo in Rogue One off the table?
I don't think so. I think there's certainly a possibility. Why not? I mean, if they're doing the reshoots, which we'll get to a little bit later, it makes no sense not to have it. You know, you've got to have a little bit of something. The question is about people. If you see him, are people going to be caught up with the fact that it's not Harrison Ford, that it's Alden Ehrenreich playing because of the time frame and all that jazz? The time frame that we are introduced to Han Solo, it's a young Harrison Ford.
Yeah, and that's 5 years later, 6 years later,
right.
or only a couple. No, not even.
No, it's
a couple months later.
Yeah, right. Well, the rumor is that Rogue One finishes 15 minutes before New Hope starts. That's the rumor. So if
I didn't hear that.
If
that's
what's
fantastic.
happening, then it's
Flashback.
kind of tough. Right?
It
Could be flashback.
a Rogue One flashback,
or they could do that digital stuff that they did with Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War, where they do a younger version of Harrison Ford digitally doing the stuff that he's doing, and it was so believable. But you would just use Alden Ehrenreich as kind of the body. Yeah, moving through.
You're just the body.
Yeah, well,
like that's the surprise ending is that he doesn't even perform in it, and it's just Harrison Ford doing the dialogue really, really quietly.
Or if they're smart, they'll do a digital combination of both their faces to make it seem kind of
composite.
possible. Yeah, composite.
Ooh, that'd be that again. Like we cast Alden Ehrenreich for a specific reason, and that was not his face. So for the people who are complaining about Alden Ehrenreich not looking like Han Solo, congratulations, don't matter.
Done and done. Perfect.
So this is also about a year and a half of a turnaround between shooting and release. Does that mean we're going to be getting a CGI heavy film?
Oh, that's a good question, Mark. I mean, I would be surprised because of what JJ laid out in Force Awakens, the combination of the CGI and the practical effects. But I think with Solo, a lot of stuff is inside. You're not going to necessarily... You're going to have the, I guess, one or two space battles with the Falcon, I would imagine.
What if it's about one of those space races that we hear so much about?
The Kessel Run, certainly possible, but I would think that would be more thrown into the movie as opposed to making it the central part of the movie. I'd be surprised if the central part of the movie was a race. You know, it'd be more about establishing himself and getting us to, I don't know, connect with him.
Star Wars version of Fast and the Furious?
Yeah. Right?
Submit your titles for that film down in the comments.
Or the Flash finale where it's just Flash versus Zoom.
It's just a
race.
Or World's Finest.
Yes, World's Finest. So to me that would be surprising. I think it's I would be surprising if it's full heavy CGI. I think it's going to be more of a good combination.
I figure they're doing the same thing like they're doing with Rogue One and just planning for reshoots.
Yeah,
like they're probably going to shoot it in maybe a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah.
Assemble just sort of a quick cut, maybe a month and a half of that, and then you have time to test it. You have time to show other studios or to show fans, maybe other folks in the studio, and really work on it. Because this is like Episode 7, you have to work so hard to make sure that the tone of this one either not necessarily matches Rogue One, but this is one of the first times we're dealing with a very, very recognizable character in this with a new actor in the forefront. Yeah. So there's a lot of work that has to go into it. If they do go the space route, they do a lot of racing, they do a lot of battles. I can see CGI. If there's a lot of alien characters, I figure they would do half puppet, half super extensive. If any of it takes place in Oto Gunga or underwater or something. Let's get some Gungan redemption. Hashtag Gungan redemption.
Come on.
For
Let's do
Han
it.
Solo film.
I like it.
And then the last one we're going to be talking about, Tim Zahn was at Amazing Con or Amaze Con.
Yeah.
And he did
is it Awesome Con? I think it's Awesome
Awesome Con?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, this came out today, so excuse us.
Yeah.
But he had a bit of a Q&A. People asked him about Rebels and Thrawn, as well as some other things that he was really keen on giving his opinion on.
Yes.
Like he talked about how Kylo Ren isn't an imposing figure, and Hux is kind of blah. Really interesting take on the new direction of the franchise.
Well, I think it's a fascinating thing to watch happen, because we, as fans, we may have our opinions about the movie or some of the shortcomings, if there were any, with Force Awakens. But I think it's another thing when someone like Timothy Zahn has an issue, because Timothy is so ingrained in the Star Wars universe. For those people who've read the books, or are involved, or are big fans of Star Wars, they understand all the outer things that are attached to it. Yes, he's Legends. Yes, his stuff does occasionally bleed into canon, but he has a certain place. And so for him to come out and kind of lay this very powerful, somewhat bashing of the movie, of the characters of the movie, you kind of have, like, he talked about the security, like, how would this pass? And they talk about wasting Phasma, which has been pretty much the feeling for some people with her character. I was surprised. It means, like, how anxious would Disney be to have him back in the fold, in the fold? I think this is a way of kind of like, this really kind of burns some bridges, in my opinion. I think it does, because he doesn't. There's a way to say you didn't like something or thought it didn't get there. That's more political. That would make a studio want to work with you. And this is a little more like, this is dumb. And it's like, whoa.
I can agree with that. When he talks about, somebody asked him about his work being Legends. It's like, well, Robin Hood is kind of based in the world, but it's not something that actually happened, but people still tell the story. So I thought that was a nice way of sort of handling essentially the bulwark of the Star Wars expanded universe that he took care of, and just not, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. Everybody's going to talk about it anyway, and it's slowly, seemingly being reintroduced through the Disney lens, which is good.
Yeah.
But you have to do I agree with you. You have to do the political thing.
Yeah.
You can't just answer all willy-nilly, because you never know who's watching. You never know if somebody went to AwesomeCon to be like, you know what? Why don't you go talk to Zahn? Let's get him back in the fold, and we'll have him write a series with Claudia Gray, or something, whatever.
Yeah.
And then somebody's like at the Q&A having a really good time, and then you just see somebody take out their cell phone and start texting. And it's like, that could have been the Disney guy.
Right.
Going, you know what? Maybe we distance ourselves from Zahn a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's how, is it Foster he wrote the novelization for Force Awakens, because he showed up at a Q&A at one of the cons and said, like, hey, have you got somebody to write it? And they're like, well, no. And he's like, well, I would like to write it. He basically pitched himself at a Q&A session on the mic to the people from the audience.
Hey, can I have a job?
Yeah,
sure.
And they gave it to him, and they let him do it. Why? Because he's connected to the Star Wars universe with Splinter of a Mind's Eye and all these things. So there's possibilities here. And, Timothy's doing his own thing. He's a very established author. I'm sure he's quite well off, and he's no problems in listening to a couple of yokels like us on a podcast. But to me, I think for those of us who love his novels and love what he created with Thrawn and that whole trilogy, it's a sadness that he said these kinds of things that could eliminate him from consideration for writing anything down the future. And he didn't seem that he seemed a bit hurt by it being called Legends. Yeah. That it marginalized his work. And I understand that I can understand and respect that, but you've also got to understand how to play the game a little bit, and that, down the road, there will be, I really firmly believe there will be a network. There will be content that he should be brought in and write on and create, and an old Republic series would be awesome. But, this kind of stuff makes it harder to hire him,
I totally agree. 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Pretty, I mean, I wouldn't say upsetting. It's a good read.
Yes,
do yourself
absolutely.
a favor, look it up. He goes into who he thinks Rey's parentage is, and he says the smart answer, but also they'll probably just do it like this. He's a realist.
Yes,
seemingly.
He is. Yeah. He's not overtly mean, just real.
No, just he's being real.
He's keeping it 100.
Disney seems to be very open with giving people jobs who want them. So if this is his way of saying, I'm good, maybe that's that. Maybe that's that. Yeah. But we hope to see more from him in the future. Let's move on to our main subject, which is the Rogue One reshoots. News came out a little while ago that Rogue One is going to be experiencing some reshoots, and everybody just flipped out. Oh, it's bad. It's a friend of mine told me a friend of his saw it, and it was awful. And now they have to do it. There's Disney scrambling. And nobody thought, why don't we ask Disney how things are going? Why don't we ask the crew?
Right.
Christopher McQuarrie came out and said, nobody asked me at all what's going on, if there were any actual problems. Slash Film, bless him, was the first group to come out and go,
Peter.
No. Yeah, Peter Serreta.
Yeah.
Love him. So these reshoots were a part of the schedule all along.
Yeah.
And it's good when you have a company with the budget to be, you know what, shoot what you want, see how it plays out.
Yeah.
If you want to do some reshoots, we'll schedule them for right around here.
Right.
No big deal. We got the time.
Yeah.
I think this is great.
Yeah. Listen, this whole thing started, I think it started back in the 80s, back when we started to have more of these movie magazines, right? It started to become a thing to follow film and to understand what's going on the set and all this kind of jazz. So when you heard the word reshoots, a lot of times it meant a bad movie. A lot of times it led to a bad movie. Just like moving the release date used to mean a bad movie, you know? And we've kind of changed that a little bit. You know, we've moved release dates and had movies do just fine and be good, you know? So to me, I think this is a little bit of was like a dragon eating its tail or a dog chasing its tail, in my opinion, because the media started this idea of the fact that reporting that reshoots equals a bad movie. We as a general public pass it on from generation to generation, and now we see at times the consequences of that when a situation like this comes up. It's like, oh, this means this, and it's not always 100% true.
No.
You know, recasting sometimes is a good thing. You know, Michael J. Fox was not the original guy for Back to the Future. It was Eric Stoltz. They shot for 2 weeks. You know, it's like, so sometimes these little things that are changes are done for the best. My concern with the reshoot stuff is what they're saying is that they're trying to bring a little more levity to it, or make it a little more like the Star Warsy films, the trilogy films, and that bothers me a little bit because I kind of wanted these to be different.
First person I thought of was you, John.
Yeah.
When it's like, oh, they're trying to put levity in it. It's like, I don't know if it needs it.
Yeah, right.
Like what it seems like is it's going to be it's going to be two things. One, there's going to be a lot of intimate stuff like cockpit shots and just small scenes between two people that you can set up anywhere. You can just set up a quick grab some of those flats. Let's make this set again. So really small scenes where it's focusing on relationships. You might get a stronger sense of character from people. Not a bad thing,
right?
And that's where you might have an opportunity to be like, yeah, well, not like we used to be. You know, just small little quips back and forth, but not like, hey, this we walked into a cantina and this alien was like, not trying to tell stand-up jokes against a brick wall. We're not at the brick wall, so that totally fell flat. But again, thank you to our audio listeners. But it seems like an opportunity for the characters to shine through a little bit more. Like the main shooting was, let's get the action, let's get from point A to point B, let's tell this story. All right, what does it need? Let's move some stuff in. Also, Donnie Yen was called back for reshoots, and he seems to have a very action-heavy role. They also got stunt coordinator Simon Crane called in, so we might get a couple of more pushed-in shots for action scenes. Not something too out of the ordinary. Like, we need an extra action beat. Let's get Donnie Yen and a couple of guys in Stormtrooper masks.
It may just be that, and once again, let's debunk the things there. And I think it's Drew McSweeney over at I think who sourced the article. I think, I don't know if it was Peter Soretta,
Hollywood Reporter.
No, for Slash Film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
sorry,
I'm trying to give credit
Peter.
all around, and I'm sorry I don't have the names 100% correct here. But we know it was Slash Film that did the thing, and HitFix all got involved. This kind of stuff, what they talk about with the bringing in Donnie Yen, it may just be that the executives, because there was not a screening necessarily for outside. It was screening for the executives.
Internal,
Right, it was internal, and they felt this and this and this. Okay, fine. They were able to do really well with Star Wars Force Awakens, so maybe they saw something, needed some changes. Okay, great. Maybe they're bringing Donnie Yen in to make him a bigger part of the movie because he really impressed them in the screening that they saw. So why not flesh out that character
Or
more?
he was getting more of a reaction in it, so they wanted to give fans what they wanted. The same thing happened with Thor 2. They put more Loki in it because people were like, that's the character we want to see.
Yeah.
So it could have gotten a strong reaction, and then when fans were like, or the executives were like, I didn't get that last sort of a hurrah with him, a last sort of rewarding fight sequence. And also for the Slash Film article, I just looked it up. It's Jack Giroux.
Oh, Jack Giroux, I'm sorry.
Who wrote it. So thank you, Jacques.
Yes.
Jacques. Jack. All three ways that you can say that name. Not drunk. It's Monday. So the stigma of reshoots, I've never seen it as a bad thing.
Oh, wow.
Like the stuff with unless they say, hey, the film's in trouble.
Right.
We need, even when people were saying,
those are the code words, in trouble.
Even when and scrambling like that I never understand. It's sensationalist, whatever. But even with the Suicide Squad reshoots recently, if you're a DC fan, people are like, oh, they're reacting to what Batman versus Superman did and how everybody was reacting to that. And while I can believe that, I don't necessarily do, because people are seeing all of the media that they're putting out and have a certain expectation about the film. Because they were marketing it like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a lighter kind of space comedy, but still an action prevalent movie. So if you're going to market something that way, you have to have certain things that have that payoff for the audience, or they won't trust you. Yeah. And DC is having a little trouble with that, so I don't necessarily find that a bad thing. I always equate it also with video games. Video games get delayed because, we don't want to put out a broken game. Right. We don't want to just put out an 8 gigabyte fix on release date just because we have to print it. It happened with Uncharted 4, which is a huge game this past season, and it's absolutely gorgeous, an amazing story, and I couldn't imagine if they released it 6 months ago what sort of a state it was in. Yeah. So delaying it to make it better, I never see that. I don't understand that as a bad thing. Yeah,
I don't either. You want to get something right. I mean, people do it in marriages all the time. They delay marriages. They delay the purchasing of property. They delay switching jobs. You know, there's changing schools. There's all kinds of things that happen when you delay because you want to find the right time, or you want to be fully confident that what you're putting out there is the best that you can do. And I think because they're so worried about what happened with the prequels happening to their new universe, because remember, they're only one movie away from reestablishing confidence with the Star Wars fan base that they can make these movies again and make people fall in love with them again. I think they want to take their time to get it right, and I think it's okay to get it right. Now, once again, I will echo my concern. I don't want to have the levity. I want to have like a hardcore, but maybe they're deciding that they don't want to go that route. And that's certainly within their rights. They own the property, they own the franchise, they can do as they wish. But I hope it doesn't eliminate the darker sides of it, because it's Star Wars. Wars is in the title. And so war is not funny quip time. War is real stuff that happens. People die, as we've seen in the Star Wars universe. So for me, that's where I fall in that camp, that I want it to be, I want to see a dark one, and I want to see them explore that.
And that's what the trailer, I think, conveys.
Yes.
And with the music being a combination of both the hero and the Imperial theme, just hits that home. One of the characters that, we're not going into spoiler territory, but they cast Alan Tudyk, and Alan Tudyk is traditionally a comedic sidekick. He can play serious, but he's a character actor in a lot of his most well-known roles. Yeah. So does having him included add any sort of a concern about wacky humor as opposed to earned humor?
Oh yeah, that's a good question, Mark. I don't think with Tudyk, Tudyk can play all the spectrum. We've seen him play those things. I love him as King Candy and Wreck-It Ralph.
Beyond amazing,
right? But then you see him in the Serenity and Firefly. He's a different kind of character. But then you see him in I, Legend, or in I, Robot. He played the robot. Yep. And that robot was very dark and very serious and very dramatic and didn't have a lot of jokes. So he's certainly capable of voicing a droid that might be kind of a little more serious than C-3PO, but still have the kind of bumbling humor that makes sense, but still have a little bit of the drama and the darkness that you would need if you're going to stay in that world or create that world with Rogue One.
We're not talking about Jar Jar Binks 2.0 here.
No,
we've got a very capable actor and a very interesting looking character, because that's all I've looked into. Haven't read any of the character bios, because that stuff's not okay. It's leaks. We are not fans of leaks here at Jedi Alliance, and they're starting this month, and they're going to end right before Celebration. So all of I think all of the fans who are going like, it's not. I don't believe it. It's not going to be a good movie. Who are going to Celebration are going to be the exact same people who go, I can't wait for this movie. It's going to be amazing. All the stuff they've done is perfect. I'm so sorry for well, they're not going to apologize, because nobody ever does on the internet. Right. It's the internet. Yes. So fandom is weird, man.
Yeah, stop calling me fat. Yeah, it is. It's a weird.
Is that a problem?
Yes, I've been getting these comments.
You're a beautiful man.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's nothing wrong with, I'm just saying I'm not. Anyway, yeah, you get that when you get that on YouTube. Yeah, you get those comments. You're right. But this is true. That's okay. Listen, I want to make sure this is clear because I get it. I get it. You want to love something. The reason we talk about, the reason I'm on the shows, I'm sure the reason Mark hosts the shows that he does, we enjoy the properties we talk about, the franchises, the characters, what have you, the stories. But there's a way to be a fan and there's a way not to be a fan, I feel like. And when you're being a fan just to destroy something, but you don't have the maturity or the guts to step up and comment back, hey, I got it wrong. Hey, I got this wrong. I want to give a shout out to blah, blah, blah. You know what? I thought this, but you were right. Or I thought this, and, I was wrong here because I felt this and this. Nothing wrong with that. That's a great way to connect. We're humans. Let's do that. But, just destroy stuff and then walk away with your arms folded. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And we don't not come back. And
we don't grow.
Yeah.
We don't grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Muhammad Ali, didn't he say a man who hasn't changed his views and from age 20 to age 50 hasn't learned hasn't lived at all? Yeah, I messed up that line intentionally, not unintentionally, but bless him, we'll miss him.
Yeah. Your heart's in the right place.
This is coming from two guys who love an erector set robot who's barely in one of the movies. 100%, and then they kiss. And we got two IG-88s. So yeah, these reshoots. It's exciting to see what. I hope we'll be able to know what they had, and then what they decided to add. Yeah, because we got that awesome documentary on the Force Awakens Blu-ray, so why not have something like this on the Rogue One set? That's talking about. So we thought this was working, this wasn't working. I think fans are more interested about that, and I think if you put that out there, then there's less of a chance of the fans going, "Well, I knew it. I've talked about it the entire time." But if the studio comes out and says, "No, we're expecting this," then that might force people to sort of step up and grow up. Yeah. Why not? Step up to the streets. So what do you think about the Rogue One reshoots? What do you want to see in the movie? Let us know in the comments down below. Or on iTunes. We are on iTunes. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're on iTunes. If you're listening to on iTunes, we're on YouTube. So go to the place that you are not currently taking in the show. Make sure to subscribe, leave us a rating and a comment. I think we're going to start reading comments on the show if we get them from iTunes. Because iTunes are super constructive. We want more folks to be listening to us on iTunes. So please leave us a comment, leave us a rating. We thoroughly appreciate your listenership. Thank you. Let's move on to our next segment, Mind Probe. Ooh! That's when you go to our Facebook page, Jedi Alliance, give us a like. We post a Mind Probe image, and you leave us a question that you want us to ask. This was sort of a scramble, because I forgot that we didn't post one after the last show. So we got some really quick ones. So we want to thank you for taking part because you really helped us out in the show today.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's go with one of yours first, John.
Okay, fine. This is from Manning Franks. What a great name. I like it.
I like it.
Do you think we will ever get a Kylo/Ben and Luke canon book about their adventures Leia mentioned in Bloodline? This long period just seems ripe for stories within the Star Wars universe. Plus, it would give us insight. It would give us insight to the character of Ben and develop a deeper relationship with Luke.
I beyond hope that that's the next book we get.
Yes.
They talked about it so little that it's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I think when we get this book, it will be after episode 8.
Yes. Good call. Yeah, absolutely. I think we have to see the fleshing out of this relationship more. I think the fact that this is something that people, when they read Bloodline, were obsessed to see more of or hear more of or read more of. That's what we want to see. And I think we want to understand this relationship. If there's one of the kind of unfinished things in episode 7 is we need to understand how this happened. We need to understand who Kylo Ren was before and what happened and who Kylo Ren became after. And the only way we can do that is to see his relationship with Luke, considering Leia mentions in the book how she let him go with Luke. Luke as an uncle, what happened in their adventures, what happened in their communications, what happened in their interactions that kind of fortified a feeling within Kylo one way or the other, so that when he found out about his parentage or his lineage, the reaction is from a foundation. We understand that reaction from a foundation. We have more of a rounder character.
And does that lead to Ben becoming Kylo?
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera. But I think we need to see them on screen first together.
Yeah.
Which I hope beyond hope that we don't have to wait another movie for that. But yeah, I think this is a natural progression from Bloodline.
Yeah. All right.
Ooh, very good.
Mr. Donica. Oh, which one?
Okay, so I'm gonna, since we already talked about the Han Solo movie a bit, I'm gonna go to Wolfgang Koppenhofer at Silberkugel56 on Twitter. Asked us, if you ask us one on Twitter, we'll include it too. Post X-Men Apocalypse, will Star Wars put Rey in danger of mortal or grievous injury by the male villain? So I kind of want to talk about this because it's a hot button issue.
Please go ahead and give perspective on this.
There is an advertisement. I haven't seen X-Men Apocalypse yet.
You haven't seen it?
No, I don't want to.
Yes, don't waste your time.
That's partially why.
Yes.
But this will be the third X-Men movie that my fiance hasn't seen in theaters. Good. And then, like, you know what? That's fine. Yeah. Just leave us at X2 and I guess Days of Future Past as well. But without getting too much into it, there is advertisement that has the main villain played by Oscar Isaacs, which is another reason I want to bring it up. Apocalypse, who is holding up Mystique, choking her as a supervillain does to a hero character. There's been a bit of a backlash saying, "Oh, why is he choking a woman?"
Well, in the posters,
right,
around in the advertising, yeah.
So this question is: do you think after seeing this, Disney will have any sort of marketing that will show Rey in danger?
This is a difficult question because obviously I'm not a woman, so I don't know what it's like to see something like that. And me, I just take it as she's the main hero of the X-Men at this point, Mystique. Also, Jennifer Lawrence is the most popular actor in the movie, probably the highest paid at this point because of all the stuff that happened earlier in all of that. And you have the main villain, Oscar Isaac, who is not a man. He is something else. For those of us who've read the comics and understand the comics, to us, there's a whole other perspective that goes into it, right? Once again, I'm only speaking as a man seeing this. I have a sister who's a very strong, proud sister. I have my mom who's made of iron, but to me, so I respect female issues. I understand that when they see stuff like that, you're right, you don't want to propagate violence against women. I respect that. But by the same token, this is the story, and it happens in the movie. And I get it. Maybe you should have been choking someone else, or you could have sewed another. But those scenes he doesn't choke anyone else in the movie.
If you take gender roles out of it, if it's villain choking hero and most popular iconic character in series
in this version of the
X-Men. So you look at that and you go, oh, he's a threat.
Yes.
So the imagery contained within, will not always be comfortable with some people.
Yeah.
And that's part. I think that's part of what makes it a compelling story.
Sure.
There wasn't, and I'm coming from the same place as you. I mean, cis white male here. I don't think that Disney will, because they've never done that in their advertising,
right? Because
it's Star Wars. You don't really need a huge amount to really do this, because in one of, I think it was the international trailer, one of the trailers they showed Kylo Ren force choking or with the lightsaber right behind Rey.
This is a picture that I almost posted and was like, if this had been on a poster, would there be just as much backlash about it or not? Because of what Rey has now symbolized for a lot of young girls and a lot of young kids, male or female. I think I've seen some cosplay of which is awesome, little male kids dressed up as Rey. I think that's awesome. And so you see that and you go, would this have caused that same kind of reaction? Or is it the choking? Is it the choking?
Is it the actual?
Because it's the actual commitment of the, exactly.
Yeah. I think that's what it could be. To answer your question, I don't think they would. I don't think Disney will, just because that's never been something that they do. They don't need that much advertising, and they do character posters or the Struzan-esque posters with everybody just sort of in action pose. So to answer your question, don't think they will, but that's just because Disney doesn't usually do something like that.
I think they'll do it in the movies. I don't think they'll do it in the advertising.
Right? I agree. Let's do one more.
Okay.
Do you want to do? Well, we already mentioned it, so let's do yours.
Yeah, sure. We have from Michael Rogers. I had to put this one on, so I'm glad we got to it. Should Jackson, old Mr. Bunny Rabbit, return to Marvel Star Wars comics runs?
Holy hush.
Holy hush.
I would, because as I mentioned at the top of the show, a little bit before my time, but it was always a character that I would see. So I would like to see their whatever Marvel's interpretation would be, especially now that we've sort of run the gamut of main characters.
Yeah.
Let's, like the TV shows are doing, let's start bringing Legends characters back.
Yeah.
So I would be totally into it.
Jackson is such a fun character, and he's kind of like involved in everything around Luke when Luke's being chased, and all there's so much involved with Jackson, and there's so many ways that you can go with him. The fact that he was a smuggler too, you could even put it in that he's got a thing with Solo at some point.
Maybe he's in the Han Solo movie,
right? Orlando, or this could be the Han Solo movie.
That's why they need so much time for CG. There's a green rabbit in it.
Absolutely. Then you can mess around with Jabba. Like, there's so much that you can do with Jackson, and he's such an interesting, compelling character. Now, yes, do we get close to the idea of he's in essence a rabbit, a Jedi rabbit? We had Rocket Raccoon though, and we were fine with that. So I think as Star Wars gets a little more established, they'll be able to take these chances with these characters and flesh them out, and they'll be fun to see appear on screen, especially for the nerds.
For Jackson, who would you want to play him or voice him on screen?
Man, that is a great question.
Nathan Fillion.
Wow. Okay. Boom.
Because he can play his comic side, but he also gets to play the rogue. He gets to play the heroic side, but it can be seen as a little bit of a comedy. I don't know. I think it could be fun.
That or Tom Hardy. I feel like
Hardy would be.
I mean, that'd be so out of left field.
Ridiculously serious,
right?
If he had an opportunity to joke around, I would totally agree with you.
Right?
Yeah. Ooh,
I don't know. These are tough choices.
That's fun though. So yes, if you don't know Jackson, do yourself a favor, look him up. Go to Comixology. Marvel may have the comics available on there to purchase digitally. See if you can find a trade in your local store. Do some research. I did, and he's a very, very fun character. Yes. Let's move on from here to Duel of the Fates. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So this one stewed for a little while because we were off last week.
Yes.
2 weeks ago's question was, the end of episode 7/episode 8 seemed to be taking advantage of the worldly beauty of Ireland for an iconic look. What world landmark would you want to see utilized in the Star Wars universe? Pictures and backstories are a plus. So we got all over the world.
We really did.
We got a lot of the U.S., which surprised me a little bit. We do have a beautiful country.
Yes, we do.
And unfortunately, we got a lot of pictures. We can't share them all. We don't have enough time to. So go to Jedi Alliance's Facebook page. Check them out. There's some beautiful places around this world that now I kind of want to visit.
Yeah.
So this first one here from Jasper Elwes, the Ajar-Im, or the Standing Stones in Malta.
Look at that.
I'm seeing them as old temples Luke take Rey to once belonged not only to the Jedi or Sith, but a third Force-sensitive group on a dead planet, so Kylo can't sense them. Some of the oldest buildings in the world, and yet to be seen in the cinema. Yeah. And Malta has been used recently for a shooting location for a bunch of different movies. So I mean, it looks like a Star Wars-y temple.
Absolutely. I think that totally works as a temple, right? Because then you go lower into whatever, because maybe it's
underground.
Yeah, maybe it's just like that's the top of the temple, and then everything's buried underneath because it's like just time has buried.
It's like an upside-down pyramid where there's just labyrinths and caves. And
great point, you got, Mark.
Then our next one is from Dan Rowden. It says, "Hi, Mark/John. In keeping with the Celtic vibe of Skellig Michael, I'd like to see Fingal's Cave off the coast of Scotland used.
Look at that.
It's very remote, again, only accessible by boat, but the basalt columns are a totally unique setting. And, hold on, I missed it. And interior, with the right lighting, would fit with the otherworldly aesthetic of the Star Wars universe. Keep up the good, guys. May the Force be with you." Absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
The teal, clear salted water. This is a very much for a moment for the iTunes listeners to go check us out on YouTube. But this cave, like stones squared off columns and steps, I guess the remoteness is what's keeping it from being used as a filming location.
Yeah.
But I mean, not only Star Wars, but I could see like Solitude, the Brain Chamber of Solitude.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely gorgeous.
The fact that it's basalt, the fact you only get to it by boat, I mean, it'd be almost impossible to shoot there. But if you could set it up, could figure it out, I think it'd be awesome. It's just a perfect
If you can do a
location.
Transition to an interior where you only need a small crew, like a skeleton crew in there, or make it so it takes place on a boat.
Yeah.
That could be a thing.
That's where a Gungan Jedi would be.
Dude, totally. The Return of Jar Jar.
Come on!
All right. And the last one that we're showing, again, we want to thank everybody for
Yes.
submitting their pictures. This is just the last one that we want to show. Look at this. This is the Hang Son Doong Cave in Vietnam. Wow. This is from Nolan Siren. I think you'd be hard-pressed not to think you're looking at a planet in the Star Wars galaxy. I think this setting would be perfect for a hidden Jedi temple, or maybe as the actual homeworld of Maz Kanata's alien race. I'm thinking that her species has poor eyesight, as evidenced by Maz's small eyes and need for corrective eyewear. I can also imagine the Force ghosts of Obi-Wan or Anakin having a discussion with Luke and Rey. Yeah. And now, so on the left, I don't know if you can see it, but near the bottom, there's that little like spotlight, and that little shadow coming out of it.
Yeah,
that is a man.
What?
That is so. The size of that cave is enormous, and I agree. It looks like an evolution of the Vision Cave from Empire.
I love that.
And if Maz's race are like kind of mole-ish, so they don't need large eyes only to see in the dark, and then the sort of the solidarity, I suppose, of the figure on the right. It's just elevated platform that seems perfect for temple use. There's a third picture as well that showed sort of a swampy cavern with stalactites and stalagmites in it, and it absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. So that was from Vietnam, Scotland, and Malta. Yeah. Learn your world, people, because that was absolutely gorgeous. Take yourself a trip. Again, go to Jedi Alliance on Facebook. See the other pictures. Thank you again to everybody who submitted this week's question, though. And it goes back to one of our news stories. Do you want Star Wars to create its own network for original content, or do you think the Netflix deal creates an opportunity for hosting such material? We've been talking about it on the show for months at this point, and now we want to hear from you. Yeah. Do us a favor. We're going to post this up tomorrow. Let us know what you want. I mean, you can know both of our opinions.
Yes, but some people have pushed back that I know and trust whose opinion, who love Star Wars, saying, no, it'll oversaturate it. It's too much. I think Audrey, when she was here, felt that having too much, it would have been too much Star Wars, but I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, if we can explore the same plots over and over again in multiple TV shows starring humans, why can't we explore more multiple environments of this universe, right? I mean, I've seen how many law shows, how many doctor shows, how many crime shows, how many all these other kinds of shows, that there's so much to explore here. Why not expand the universe a little more and see what else is going on? And you can still keep the human aspects of it. You just create new environments, new planets, and new parameters. And you can, in a way, kind of create a global thing in that you have different cultures that have different, like Japanese. There are certain things you would do in a Japanese culture that you cannot do in an American culture. It means different things. You go to another country, like Vietnam, go to another country. There are different, Russia, there are different modes of communication. There are different ways, different symbols, different slang. All of that can be explored. What do you call it? Like a kind of a faux way of exploring it by having it in the Star Wars universe and creating these whole environments. So I think there's plenty of stuff to work through.
And also, now that we're moving into the digital revolution, you don't have access to as much of the stuff on VHS or director's commentaries are not as easily found, so that gives you a place to put those. Also, if you make it a strictly digital network, like the WWE network, or Netflix or Hulu or any of those things where it's just online, it's not a TV channel, it's something where I'll pay $10 a month and I'll just get what I want from it. And I have Star Wars whenever I want. And also, something that I'm a big fan of is it makes it a destination. So instead of having to go to Disney XD's website to watch Rebels and then finding something on iTunes, a Star Wars movie to watch on iTunes, and then maybe putting in an old VHS from Star Wars to Jedi, it's all in one place. I don't have to worry about that stuff. I can pay for it to have it in one spot.
Look, if you can take wrestling, professional wrestling,
as silly as it is,
put it on a network and have it create original content around this concept of professional wrestling. Don't tell me that you can't do it with Star Wars. Nothing would be greater than to have a network like the WWE network for Star Wars, where you can have you can watch a feed all day that is a network standard feed, or you can go on demand that they have without any extra cost and watch all these other shows.
Watch classics.
I got classics, and go back and explore that kind of stuff and see what's available. See documentaries. See all these kinds of things that give you so much more life into it. And if they include the legend stuff, even more so.
And also, speaking about making it worldly, when we were doing our international episode last week or last time, I the sheer amount of Star Wars country-themed YouTube channels that there are, if you include those, and depending on what country, and you have subtitles for your specific country, you can be opened up to that world of Star Wars and how other countries appreciate this fandom that we all love so much. So why don't you show us how much you appreciate us by going to our Facebook page. That's going to be Tuesday. We post the Duel of the Fates, which is, do you want Star Wars to create its own network for original content, as well as documenting and collecting all of its old stuff, aggregating all of its old stuff into a singular network, or do you want Netflix just to handle the whole thing?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Let us know. We're going to post that. John.
Yes.
That's our show for today. That's our show. What do you got coming up? Stuff that you want to promote?
Oh, yeah. You guys can always find me at The Rocha Says, ROCHA. That's my homage to The Rock, speaking of the WWE. And I host, any shows that I host, like this one, I always put on my feeds and the shows that I'm a guest on. I was just last week on Movie Talk over at Collider. I also did a couple of other things, and I'll be on TV Talk today. So much fun. Also host the Game of Thrones show. So there's a lot that I'm doing right now. And then I've got that Cinephiles podcast that is about, we're hashing out the final details this week. We will be launching this week, and we just recorded an episode of Amadeus, which is really sad because Peter Shaffer died this morning.
He did?
Who wrote the play. And so we talked about him extensively on the show. So it's just these little things. And I think we're going to do a special version of it covering When We Were Kings, the great documentary about the fight between Muhammad Ali and George Foreman in Zaire. And so the Rumble in the Jungle. So that'll be fun too. So I'm having so much fun doing this podcast. I can't wait to release it. And I really appreciate the people who've tweeted and talked about it and commented. Mark, you've been very supportive as well about the show, because this is like one of my favorite babies that I've ever created. So
I'm really glad to see all of the pictures of this child, and I guess that's a weird way of saying excited to listen to it. I'm excited to listen to your baby. What? I'm that Muhammad Ali sort of rocked everybody.
Yeah.
Yes. But that's sad to hear about Schaffer.
Yeah.
So happy things. So
oh yeah. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So follow him at The Broke Says. Follow me at Mark B. Donica. You can follow all of us here at The Popcorn Talk. On Twitter, we've got so many good shows here. We've got Action Movie Anatomy, where we talk about action movies. We got Video Game Movie Anatomy, where we talk about video game movies. And tonight we're going to be talking about the Angry Birds movie.
Yeah.
You might be surprised at our opinions. So make sure to join us tonight at 6 p.m. or cataloged on YouTube or on our website, on our Popcorn Talk Network website. So yeah, and follow me also at The Gimmick Pod. It's a wrestling podcast. John's been on it before. Have a heck of a good time.
Yes.
And also on our sister network, AfterBuzz, where I do wrestling stuff, animated stuff. It's a lot of fun. Mark B. Donica for all of that. I'm also putting out a whole bunch of game things. It's weird. It's summer, man. There's time. So thank you for joining us here. Thank you for watching and or listening to Jedi Alliance. You can visit popcorntalknetwork.com to find a nice list of all of the past episodes of Jedi Alliance and links to both YouTube and iTunes. Please also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Jedi_Alliance. That's on Twitter, and Jedi Alliance on Facebook for all of the us-related news. This has been Jedi Alliance on the Popcorn Talk Network. We talk movies. Thank you for listening, because many Bothans died to bring us this information.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.